It's Bullseye. In for Jesse Thorn, I'm Linda Holmes. My next guest is Gina Prince-Bythewood. She's a director, writer, and showrunner. Gina started out as a writer for TV. She had credits on South Central, Felicity, and A Different World. And in 2000, she wrote and directed the film Love and Basketball. It's a love story of two athletes and the kind of movie that inspires a really devoted fan base. If you've seen Love and Basketball, you probably love Love and Basketball. Gina's since directed The Secret Life of Bees, Beyond the Lights, and she's now at the helm of a brand new TV show on Fox. It's called Shots Fired. Set in North Carolina, Shots Fired is a police drama made for 2017. It talks about difficult stuff like race and police brutality in a way that doesn't talk down to the viewer. Instead, it flips the script and makes you think. The show's pilot starts off with the death of a white teenager at the hands of a black cop. Let's take a listen to a clip from that episode. In this scene, a young black state prosecutor named Preston Terry, played by Stephon James, is giving a press conference about the shooting to local media.
Is there any video of the shooting or any witnesses?
No video has surfaced as of yet. No witnesses have come forward, but it's still early in the
Can you
investigation.
confirm that the name of the officer is Joshua Beck?
We're not releasing his name at this time.
But he is black.
I'm not at liberty to say.
We've all seen the cell phone footage. The officer is black, the victim is white.
What I don't understand is why you're here. All the murdering of unarmed black men by police across this country, and this is the one that the government is investigating.
Oh, so only black lives matter.
I'm sorry, when is the last time you were pulled over by the police and didn't know if you were gonna make it out alive?
Listen, as a prosecutor, it is my job to ignore all personal biases and to focus on the truth. Now, I must admit, that can be hard. It can be tough. See, when I watch recent video of Laquan McDonald, of Tamir Rice, of Walter Scott shot in the back, murdered while running away from a child support payment, I am sickened. Sickened by the utter lack of humanity displayed by those officers and angered at the arrogance of their lives. Tina, they knew that there would be an assumption of innocence, not because of blue, but because of white.
Gina Prince-Bythewood, welcome to Bullseye.
No, thanks for having me.
So before we get to Shots Fired, I have to tell you, there's an intern over here, and I told her that I was going to be talking to you, and I mentioned Love and Basketball to her, and she actually put her hand to her chest and gave me the gasp.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I have to assume you get that a lot.
I mean, you know, as an artist, you only hope that your work can resonate and you know, sustain life, and it's been really beautiful, the journey of Love and Basketball.
What do you think it is about that movie?
Wow. I don't know. I mean, I think maybe because it was such a personal story, and it was really a passion project, that I was able to put so much angst into it. I think having looked back on it now, the fact that it was the character Monica was really a portrayal of a girl and woman that we hadn't seen really before in film. And I hope that, you know, I had created a character that, you know, girls could look up to and aspire to. But also, you know, my hope was to inspire everybody that you can really try and have it all. You can have love and a career.
Yeah, you played basketball yourself, right?
I did. I was a baller, and then I ran track at UCLA.
Do you watch a lot of basketball at this time of year now, or are you too busy?
Oh yeah, no, I went to UCLA. UCLA is going to win the tournament this year, so I'm all in.
Well, that sounds good. So I want to talk about Shots Fired, which is on Fox, and it's 10 parts, right?
Yes.
And talk a little bit about the premise of Shots Fired and what it's about.
Shots Fired is about a black prosecutor and black investigator at the DOJ who come down to investigate the shooting of a white unarmed teen by a black cop. And through the course of their investigation, they uncover the murder of a young black teen that was never investigated, and come to find out that the two cases may be linked and tied to corruption within the North Carolina Police Department. It's interesting. This project was really the perfect collision between desire and opportunity. You know, the germ of it really began back with the Zimmerman trial, when he was found not guilty for murdering Trayvon Martin, a 17-year-old boy. My husband watched it with our older son, who was 12 at the time, and my son was just rocked. It just shook his whole belief system, and my husband was not really able to hug and tell him it was going to be okay because, how do you explain something like that? Instead, he opened up his laptop and showed him a documentary of Emmett Till, and that just led discussions in our house about the criminal justice system and how it works and in many cases doesn't work. And from those discussions, my son wrote a short story about Trayvon Martin going to heaven to meet Emmett Till. And that short story actually is in hour 5 of Shots Fired. So our son Cassius was actually the first writer on the show. But it was a perfect example of using art to use art as a weapon, to use art to, put a mirror up to society. And that's absolutely what we want to do with our work.
So from the beginning, you conceived it as this kind of 10-episode kind of series. Not necessarily to the number of episodes, but you conceived it as this longer project.
Yeah, going in, one of the caveats for us going back to TV is, we were very upfront with the network. We didn't want to do more than 13 episodes just because we as viewers like that shorter format. And also, again, we both have films that we're going to be doing. But when they suggested a 10-hour special event series, that just felt so perfect to us that we could tell the story that we were going to try and fit into 2 hours. Now we can tell it over 10 hours. And we really do think of this project as a 10-hour film. And that's how we approached it in all aspects.
As you get into Shots Fired, I think one of the things that strikes me about it is that it continues to get more sort of complex as you go through it. And ultimately, there are stories about private prisons and there are stories about school segregation. And I wonder how, as you begin to drill down and kind of make the point that all of these things are connected to each other, how you go about putting some kind of structure around it so that you don't, because it seems to me it could be, it could be 100 hours and you probably wouldn't run out of things to tell stories about. So how did you go about kind of bringing it some kind of structure so that you could keep it in that frame?
Well, first, we knew what we wanted to say, but given that we were dealing with such a real issue that affects people in such a real way, we knew we had to get it right. And so it started with research, and we did something called Shots Fired University for our writing staff. And the first 2 weeks was just an intensive period of being able to speak to some really great people on all sides of this issue. And as you said, private prisons. And, we had the opportunity to speak with our former Attorney General, Eric Holder. We spoke with Wanda Johnson, the mother of Oscar Grant, the young man who was killed up in Oakland, and the movie Fruitvale was made for him. Ray Kelly, the former police commissioner of New York, who instituted stop and frisk. People in law enforcement, a woman named Cheryl Dorsey, who was a 20-year vet of the LAPD. We took all of this research and knowing what we wanted to say, then it was, how do we tell the story and make sure we stay on point? And that was really Reg and I. We wrote an 80-page Bible for the show, giving it a beginning, middle, and end, because we didn't want to leave this wide open. We knew we wanted to go in telling these two mysteries and making sure we never got lost in the storytelling. So that 80-page Bible set up the story from jump, and that's what we showed the writing staff. That's what we showed Fox, and we never strayed from that narrative that we had set out to tell.
Where did you shoot it?
We shot in Charlotte, North Carolina. We were based, and then we shot in a lot of the smaller towns right outside of Charlotte. It was perfect for the show. We looked at a number of places. We wanted, as I said, this to feel like Ferguson. It was, amazing when everything was going on in Ferguson and that was on television, how many people were talking about how they couldn't believe that this was America. And more than that, it had the people. The show authenticity is so important. And so when we decided where we were going to shoot, we went to the residents in the neighborhoods and the houses and talked to them about the vision. We wanted them to be a part of it. We never wanted to feel like occupiers. So instead of going the traditional route of just doing extras casting, we asked them to be a part of it and be in the scenes and be in the neighborhood and be in the church. And it was amazing to see how they kept coming back. Being an extra is fun for about 5 minutes and then it's hot and you're bored. But we were there during, the primaries, and It's just strange. It's a strange thing to, you know, be, I'm in Los Angeles and now I'm in North Carolina and driving to work every single day. I'm passing Confederate flags hanging on houses. Just the normalcy of it, that was difficult.
I want to play another clip from the show where you kind of touch on that. This scene features the character Lieutenant Breland, played by Stephen Moyer. He works for the small town police department that's under investigation for the shooting, and he also coaches the local high school football team. In this scene, he's talking with his daughter, who's on the team. She overheard him saying something to one of the black football players.
Hi, Daddy.
Hey, kiddo. You all right?
Could be better.
Let me guess. There's a party tonight, and your mom said you can't go.
She called you.
Yep.
I did all my homework and everyone's gonna be there.
No promises, but I will talk to her.
Thanks.
Go on. What now? Money?
At the game, you told Tommy that if his black ass didn't block for me, that you'd kill him.
It worked, didn't it?
That's racist.
Tess, I didn't talk to him like that because he's black. I talked to him like that because he's the biggest guy we have. And some guys need a foot up their ass, and he is one of them. That's it.
Okay,
Now get your white ass to the party.
I can go?
I'll tell your mama I called an audible.
Do you feel like being in that kind of uncomfortable place of seeing Confederate flags while you were driving in kind of contributed to the feel that you were trying to create in the project because there is so much tension in the show? Or is it something more that you try to put out of your mind?
No, I think it helped feed all of us. We're obviously the show, we want it to be entertaining and it is a mystery, but we are also dealing with a very real subject and we're really trying to create change and there's absolute division. We have, great issues with race in this country and it was exemplified every day where we were shooting. But there was also, as I said, the flip side of, our crew, which was very diverse. It was one day on set, probably the toughest day on set was the morning after Philando was shot and killed, in front of his daughter and his fiance, and she had Facebook lived it, and it just affected all of us so much because you're going to work the next day, and we were literally shooting something that was very similar to that. And our first AD, a black woman named Pip, she just couldn't start the day, and finally she called the entire crew together and as I said, very diverse group of people, and just led a prayer with the crew and the cast and just asked for grace. And it was a really phenomenal moment that brought everyone together and grounded us and reminded us why we were doing what we were doing.
It's Bullseye. I'm Linda Holmes. I'm talking with Gina Prince-Bythewood. She and her husband, Reggie Rock Bythewood, created the new TV series Shots Fired, which is airing now on Fox. And you're also working on the adaptation of Roxane Gay's An Untamed State, right?
I guess so. Excited. She and I are co-writing the script together, something I haven't done before. But her book was so well written. She's such a good writer. It just felt right to work with her on it. And yeah, I read the book. She sent it to me after we met. And I was crazy busy and knew I didn't have time to read, even though I love to read. But I said, in my mind, I said, I'll just read 20 pages so I can, at least say I started reading it. And I could not put it down. And, read it in a day and a half. And I literally was left physically breathless at the end of it. And it was so visual. I was seeing it in my head while I was reading. And I just felt like, God, if I could make a movie that makes an audience feel the way I feel right now, we've won. It was very interesting because as we pitched it around town, we went to a couple different studios and we're having good meetings. But when we went to Searchlight, it was the first meeting that we pitched, and it was two women, Dan Tram-Wynn and Anika McLaren. And it was such an inspiring meeting. And I remember sitting there thinking, how rare is this? As much as I pitched, that I'm pitching to two women in a position to greenlight something.
How often do you pitch to women who can greenlight things?
I mean, very rare. I remember with Beyond the Lights going, we pitched to a lot of studios, and it was, I mean, it's rare. It is very rare, too rare. And I do think it makes a difference in terms of projects that have women at the center of them, because I think people greenlight what they want to see. And that's, if you're a guy, do you want to see The Secret Life of Bees? I don't know. I hope so. Obviously, you hope that all your work is universal. But it's there is a difference and different aesthetic. And I just think to get more projects made, we just need more women in positions of power.
You have made some really successful love stories, in addition to other stories. Mm-hmm. I'm curious about what you think separates a kind of a good. It's hard to make a good romantic movie, or maybe it's not hard, but maybe they don't get made as often as some of us would wish. What do you think is the trick to making a kind of a worthwhile romantic movie?
I mean, I love the genre, and you're right. I mean, great love stories are rare, and like a straight love story, not even a romantic comedy, but straight love story is rare. But when they're great, they're great. And I think, the key is that you have great characters and great conflict. I mean, it's the nature of a love story that ultimately they will probably end up together. So how do you make the journey to that most interesting? And that really goes to the characters. But also I think it's important that you're not writing only a love story, that the two characters have lives outside of their life with each other, so that other things are going on in the story, which makes them fuller characters. And the hope is that you can create a journey where you're yearning for the two to be together, as opposed to, I know they're going to get together.
Yeah. When I was watching Love and Basketball most recently, one of the things that I noticed about it was they are not opposites to me, as much as you sometimes see people presented. There'll be one loud one and one quiet one, or there'll be one really driven one and one more modest one. They're both really stubborn, and they're both really ambitious particularly about playing basketball.
Yeah, actually, I've never thought of it that way, but yeah, it's true. I mean, it was really the things that were going on in their lives. They both had the same drive and ambition, but their conflicts in their lives were actually coming from other people as opposed to each other. But it was a way that they dealt with it individually that caused the conflict.
That's why you ain't getting recruited.
Who said I'm not getting recruited?
Your hot ass temper, that's who.
I'm not the one who put this scar here when you were 11 years old because he was about to lose.
You know what? Give me your best shot. Give me your best shot. I'm sick of you hanging this.
Would you watch the damn road?
I'm watching the road. I'm sick of you hanging this over my head now. Come on, give me your best shot.
What? Don't tempt me. Don't tempt me. I'm warning you.
I'm warning you. If you don't stall that bad attitude, no one's going to recruit you.
Please. You jump in some guy's face, you talk smack, and you get a pat on your ass. But because I'm a female, I get told to calm down and act like a lady. I'm a ball player, okay?
With a jacked up attitude.
Didn't know you cared so much.
I really don't.
Good.
Does the stuff about trying to protect your own vision and trying to get the stories made that you want to see, does any of that ever get any better? I mean, beyond the kind of what you said about, getting to pitch women occasionally and maybe hopefully more in the future and things like that, does any of it ever get any easier, or is the grind of it kind of inevitable, do you think?
I would say after Beyond the Lights, I realized that the grind is inevitable. But with each project, it's almost like muscle memory. Because of, it honestly started in film school when I actually was rejected when I applied for UCLA Film School my junior year. And I fought that and wrote a letter to the head of the film department. She read it and called me 2 days later and said I'm in. So that overcoming no that early in my career has absolutely set the table. And with Love and Basketball, everyone turning it down, you realize you just need one yes. And so every time it happens, you have that memory of, yes, it was hard, but it's going to get made because I'm passionate enough to keep fighting for it. It fuels the fight.
Well, Shots Fired is on Fox. It's 10 parts. As I said, big cast, lots going on in that show. And Gina Prince-Bythewood, thank you so much for doing this.
Well, thank you so much. And I sincerely appreciate, I mean, you talk about my work a lot, and I'm very, very grateful to that, and grateful to my sister, Krista, up in Seattle, who points out every time she listens to NPR and hears you say something, she's the one that tells me to listen.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Happy to. I'm glad we could do it.
Thank you.
Gina Prince-Bythewood, Shots Fired's first ever season just kicked off. You can check it out on Fox on Saturdays at 8 p.m.